Good evening, afternoon, morning. I don't know which way is up at the moment. Inga says she's got sun where she is, but she's in the UK. Does anybody else have sun in the UK? I don't know the last time we saw the sun in the UK. Oh my God, my husband's always going on at me for moaning about the weather. He's like, I'm trying really hard not to moan about the weather.
You can't help yourself.
He's like, it's like if I'd given up smoking and you were just going smoking all the time in front of me. And so, yeah, well done for having the sunshine. Obviously, you have a bit of success that we need to know about, Miss Inga Deksne. So, welcome, 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 everyone. This is International Intuitives Raising Awareness, and the Awareness Day is on. Do you remember, Inga?
11/11.
So easy to remember. Whatever side of the pond you're on, it's the same. 11/11. Although I do know in USA it's Armistice Day, but there is a link with war. We're not going into that today, though. What we're here to do today is what raising awareness in International Intuitives is all about, really, which is helping you to know that you are wonderful. You've probably been told you're weird, and yeah, you might be weird, but weird actually means connected to fate. Did you know that? So that's not a bad thing. It makes you even more wonderful. Maybe you've been told you're evil. I've been told that plenty of times. I don't know if anybody else has. It's because of the link with tarot, of course. And so, this is about being known to feel, to help you feel wonderful rather than weird, and help you feel equal rather than evil, and help you feel, I've forgotten what the other one is, shine, like you want to shine, like Inga. See, she's got the sun. I forgot what it's like to shine, instead of feeling shame for who you are. Right. And so between now and 11/11 weekly, I'm bringing you one of the speakers. And Inga has been with us right from the start. So some of you may know, some of you may have seen her talk in the little warm-up we did, which was a little pop-up group back in May. And so I've brought Inga with you today to talk about what's been happening for her since May. Plus, I don't know if you think this, guys, but I feel like there's a heck of a lot of ascension going on at the moment. I don't know if you're feeling that too, Inga. She's nodding her head. So we will hear. I will stop talking and let the lovely Inga introduce herself to you. Let her know what she's been going through, let you know through. See, this is why I need to shut up. Let you know what she's been going through, and we'll have a little riff with Tiff, as it was called last week, about the current times. I know that Inga is amazing when it comes to marrying intuition and practicality. So if you are struggling with feeling like your intuition is maybe keeping you unsuccessful rather than helping you to be successful, Inga really is an amazing person to ask about that. So any questions at all, but particularly around that, you're in for some great treats and tips, but you have to ask them. So put them in the chat box. We have got Lucy saying hello from Texas. We've got Anne Jeffrey saying hello from rainy Essex. We've got Lucy Spencer here from probably rainy London, although you are in London and you've got the sun. Lucy S, do you have the sun in London? Oh my gosh, Lucy, really? My goodness. Who told you you had the eyes of the devil? And I'm always called a weirdo. I'm proud of it. I know. I love it when people call me weird. I think it's a compliment. But my goodness, I'd love to know more about being told that you've got the eyes of the devil. How did that feel? Let me know more about that. So Julia is saying no sun here, sadly. I think she's in London. I'm not sure. And Lucy is saying rain. So come on, Inga. What is your secret? And saying the sun has just come out, but you look very sunny constantly.
Well, I manifested sunshine, and before I introduce myself, I wanted to invite you to set the intention. What would you like to gain from this conversation? Like, what would be a good time spending activity for you from what we are talking today, because I think we have, not that we don't have a clue, but we haven't prepared the script. So anything can go, and that's why I'm personally setting intention that we all gain some new insights from conversation today. And talking about the sunshines, this is what I manifested, because it gives good light when you do the video, and it's a little bit of sunshine.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like hiding myself right now. Can we talk like this? Okay. So, yeah, I know what you're saying about the intention and how we haven't set the script, and I've found that actually it's best that way, absolutely best that way. But you were talking to me whilst people come in with their questions. Let's kick off the riff with Tiff, because you were talking to me about how at the moment you're doing boring things, but you're feeling like your intuition is supporting you. And I think that's a really interesting topic, because I think we can quite often excuse ourselves from doing the harder things by saying, oh, it doesn't feel like it's in the flow. So
Or it feels heavy.
Feels heavy. Yeah. And so I think that's really, especially at the moment with all this ascension, I think there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of like comfort zone issues and kind of like, I've got to be true to myself. But it's like, how do we know, that because some of that can be the ego, right, which wants to keep us protected. So it's not a bad thing. The bad thing is if we're giving our power away to it through, rather than saying, hey, thank you for wanting to protect me. I see you, I've got you, I'm doing this anyway. Yeah. So how if we find ourselves in that place where it feels heavy, or we want to protect ourselves, and then we go, oh, it just doesn't intuitively feel right, how do we separate all those parts of ourselves out and know when we're actually on track with our intuition, rather than being fooled by our ego?
I will share one idea that came to me literally 15 minutes before this conversation, because I was tuning in terms how to formulate the ideas that I mentioned to you before, what I'm going through at the moment, because I'm introducing new structures into my business, into my life. And I'm trying to find the right way how to adjust to the whole process. And the idea came to me, and I hope it will offer a different perspective. But a little bit side note about the ascension. Yesterday, I went through an ascension process literally, because I'm attending Alwyn Jennings group, which is connecting with your higher guides, spiritual guides, in order to train my intuition. And we went through the meditation, and I felt as if I was taken in a lift and in a high speed going to the top floor.
Oh, I've got tingles as you're talking. And can I just...
physical experience. Yes.
Yeah, I can really feel it. And it's fascinating you're talking about Olwyn, because she is our guest expert next week in the membership as well. So people have been asking for connection with their guides. So, of course, Olwyn came to my mind. And as you're talking about it now, I can feel the energy. It's powerful. Yes. Wow.
Yes. It was, very, very powerful. And so I mentioned to you that I started doing these structures in place. Basically, I introduced 4-day working week.
That's amazing. For those of you that don't know Inga, you won't know how amazing that is. Trust me, it's amazing. She's been working 8 days a week. Again, another thing. She brings the sun and an extra day.
I'm a recovering workaholic. And, and this is where this idea comes with intuition and changes and following intuition. So intuition is, imagine that you are getting a new model of phone or the car, but the software remains the old one. the previous one. So you get the intuitive hit, like a new model of a phone, but your software, your old you, remained still old. And there is this adjustment period when you upgrade from inside. So you align with your intuitive hits, and it may take longer period if your ego comes in place. And so this old software isn't aligned with a new model and can't take you further because you insist on operating with the old software. So this is my clever thoughts that came to me.
And you can tell what Inga does for a living now, can't you? I mean, the terminology you're using. So would you just like to enlighten people with what it is you do?
Yeah, well, I help people to build structures in their business and make it easy, because I know this feeling that it's boring or heavy. I have introduced numbers party in order to entice my clients to look at their numbers and being on top of those numbers as well. But I also I find planning boring. Creating systems, it may be boring. However, knowing that I need to do it because in order to translate it to my clients, it excites me. Finding creative ways how to present it excites me. So I am marrying these creative processes with seemingly boring.
And it's not just people, is it? It's intuitives, isn't it? So so you understand, just like you can probably tell peeps the way Inga has spoken about, I got a new model of the phone, which is like the upgrade or the ascension at the moment. But I'm still trying to work from my old software and it's not working and I can't go forward. I think you can tell that she has this intuitive understanding and also understands how to practically go forward. So you were talking, Inga, about this this stuff that you're putting in your business at the moment and it feeling heavy. How is it that you've managed to stick at it as an intuitive? Because I think it can be so challenging to do that as an intuitive when you're so strongly driven by the feeling within. So how have you managed to do that, and how did you know that it's the right thing for you to push yourself?
Well, because this calling usually feels stronger, right? So I understand that I need to change something in my business if I want to move next level. Usually, if we don't want to change anything, we don't need to change as well. But if I want to build an empire, I want to learn how to delegate. In order to delegate, I need to have a clear understanding what's happening, what needs to happen in terms of planning, and then who I want to bring to outsource all these things. In order for me to have these 4 days, I need to bring somebody in. If I don't have 4 days and I continue working the same way, I will burn out. I will crash at some point. And it's this deeper understanding of how to, it's not even self-care, it's more like a self-defense kicking in now. If I want to sustain, I need to listen to that voice that told me how to do things differently. And maybe answering the previous question, how to decide whether it's intuition, whether it's ego. So when we get the intuitive hit to do something, I think the next tuning in is about how to achieve it, what changes we need to make, who I need to become in order to follow intuition. So, and then it goes this holistic upgrade along the way. The same way how I got intuitive hit, I need to eliminate alcohol from my life at all. And it feels like on a logical level, I didn't drink that much, right? So in order to be alarming and I need to go into AA meetings, right? But some deeper voice said, no, you need to eliminate completely. So I eliminated it completely. Next one is with gluten. I did do the lab test in order to confirm, and it confirmed my intuition. So, and they suggested to remove it for 3 months just to double test. And again, old me is still sometimes craving bread, like all those breakfasts that I used to have, or all the pastries that from time to time I'm missing. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. And this is so, and it can be applicable to any area of your life. In business, like we can't divide, like I'm going to eat properly and I'm doing my business, not following my intuition. So it works equally on all areas in our lives.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that it's like all parts feel like they have come into alignment and are working together. So it feels like you've got the longevity of the vision of like, actually, just logically and practically, if I want this, it has to be that way. But it's your intuition that's got you to that place in the first place. And so it's like got you on that track, and it's saying, right, now this has to go, and this is your next step to go forward. That's what it feels like listening to you. Would you say that's correct summary?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very pertinent, especially at the moment. I think there is a collapsing of timelines in a way, and it's like all about who we are becoming and the needing to let go of that old software that you're talking about, because it's just not going to work anymore. I feel quite emotional all of a sudden. So let's have a look and see what's in the chat box. Okay, so intuitive glitches need upgrades, not patches, right? So Lucy, I think, is resonating with that too. That's Lucy C from Texas. Thank you, Lucy S, from sharing that she met someone who was at an event who was clearly scared after chatting for a bit. Now, I've had that before as well, but I don't know whether you have, Inga.
I had amazing situation. I went on a date, right, with the guy, and it kind of clicked. He was so very smitten by me, and it was so funny. When we started talking, I told that my clients talk with angels. I told them that I communicate with my parents who are died, right? That I can hear. He looked at me with such a terror, and suddenly going from with adoration, he looked at me as I was a representative from the Satan, right? And he said, like, it's a total deal breaker, like it's really and I said it's fine. So he literally left me in the middle of the street.
Oh my goodness.
Terror running away. And it was so amusing for me.
Well done for finding it amusing. I know, like, it can be such a mirror of where we're at. I mean, I had a shop in Camberwell. That's how I first went self-employed. It was a hippy dippy shop in Camberwell.
Did you say Camberwell? Right? It was the first place where I lived when I arrived in London.
Okay, so you will know then what it's like in Camberwell. And we were right next door to the methadone clinic, and like a minute's walk away from King's Hospital, King's College Hospital, the psychiatric unit, the big psychiatric unit. And there was many a challenge of being told I should be burnt at the stake and all of these types of things, because it's also quite heavily in evangelical too as well. And it was just like, my God, what are you doing here? People would walk in and go, what are you doing here? The only thing people are really interested in here, the only crystals, is meths. But yeah, I used to be told that I needed to repent or I would go to hell almost on a daily basis for about 3 years. And I think I think you really have to know in yourself, don't you, that you are a good person and what your intent is, and that your intent is good, and then it doesn't matter. But this is also what International Intuitives is about. It's double-barreled. One, to help us understand ourselves, like we're talking about right now, and two, because it is time for people to understand that we are just as equal, just as amazing, just as special as everyone else. We're not more special and we're not less special. We're just tuned into the supernatural, which is supernatural. It's there for everyone, and it just depends on the way your life's gone, on whether you're more tuned into it or not. It's a bit like that human library in Denmark, I think. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's amazing. It's this human library that's opened up where you can borrow a human story, and you talk to them for 30 minutes while you listen to their story for 30 minutes. And so you can do it with anyone from any walk of life. And it's like, yes, I think that's really what we need, isn't it? We really need some of that, to know that we're all the same, we're all lovable, we all have inherent worth. The fact that we're here on this planet means we have inherent worth, and what anybody else says or does or anything like that doesn't take away from that inherent worth. I watched a TED talk the other day where he kind of like ate a £20 note and spat it back out. So at first he was like, who wants this £20 note? And people were raising their hands really confidently. And then he was like eating it and spitting it out. And he was like, so who still wants the £20 note? And he was just, people were still a bit like, well, okay, yeah, I still want the £20 note. And he was just like, well, why? Standing on it and everything. Why? And he was like, well, it's still worth £20, whatever you do with it. And that is what worth is, or value is. It's still always there. And I think it's important that we claim that really now, and we know that. Yeah. So let's have a look here. Yeah. So don't worry, Lucy. It's happened to the best of us. And brilliant description, Inga, of software upgrade, she says too. Absolutely. Anne says, sometimes I feel, and we've got like 5 minutes, guys, and then we're off. So really do get your questions in if you want them now. Anne says, sometimes I feel, oh, that's a good idea, or a good thing to do. And then I hear another voice in my head that goes through all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. I know from the past that sometimes a leap of faith has usually worked out. Is there a way I could check this is my intuition or not?
I think I used to have, well, I still have the same way. It seems as if you talk yourself out of that good idea. And I think it's more about self-awareness. If you look back, like how it panned out when you went with your intuitive hit and still did it, or when you talk yourself out, and what happens then. What I have noticed, every time I talked myself out, somebody else has implemented that idea. And sometimes it was, it was meant for them, but sometimes it's just because that idea wanted to happen. I think when we talk with the ego language, not the ego voice, it will be always guided by fear. So whenever fear is present, it's not intuition. So this for sure. Intuition cannot bring fear. Our logical mind can. And it's more about, taking notes, how you work with your intuition, because I believe it's like a muscle. So you train it and you train yourself how to listen to it.
It's a good note, isn't it, that, you know, if you're fearful of something, that's not your intuition. I have done things that I've been petrified to do. So it's been like feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I was thinking about this before our call, because someone that I run What's the Fuss About Tarot room with, they said, it was Fingal, who was a student of mine before, and he's done so well with his tarot career. He has the Wellness Foundry now, and he runs this room with me. And he said something last week as well about, even if it's just do it, you know, and if it turns out later that you're like, oh, that wasn't my intuition, that's you clearer than if you didn't do it. Yeah. And I thought that was an interesting part as well. And it feels like you're kind of saying that, let me clarify, because fear is not intuition, but it feels like fear comes along for the ride anyway, right?
But it is self-defense mechanism. It feels like it works automatically. If we keep, it's like you know, sometimes with our antivirus system pops up even when it shouldn't pop up, right? This
yes.
The fear is, I don't know why I have this analogy, but fear it pops out automatically just in case, right? And also, you know, anything that would lead to some changes in new stuff in our life, it feels threatening. So the fear has to come up, because just to be sure, it's like, I want to jump. Are you sure? Okay, if you're then jump.
Yeah. I mean, the petrifying things I've done have they've not really been easy at the time, but I've always been pleased I've gone through with them in the end. You know, it may not be for the reason that I thought at the time. So I want to bring that in as well. It's like, we can be so concerned, can't we, with doing the right thing, or is it going to succeed in this period of time, in the picture that I have, in the way that I have it. And it's actually, nothing really does, I don't think, because that's the magic of life. But if you're not actually embracing that, then you're not going to see it. You're going to miss out on so much. And so I think it's about having a bigger picture, as well as also that I always say, instead of asking, is this my intuition, ask yourself, what would self-worth do? Which sounds like what you've been doing with, like, cutting out the alcohol, knowing that you want a bigger business and a 4-day week and delegation. They're all decisions of self-worth. And so that is another thing as well to take into consideration, is what would self-worth do. So yeah, thank you so much for coming here, and I love your analogies of the technology. It's brilliant. We've got a few comments in here, and I've literally got to be on another call in 1 minute. Let's just power through them, and then if you just let people know where they can find you, because I'd love to speak with you more than this. We've got half an hour of Inga, and that's it until 11:11. Oh, and I need to put the waiting list in the post. There's the link for the waiting list and a link for Inga, so I'll update it later. All right, lovelies, you can come back for that. So yeah, we've got some fun comments here. Lucy is saying that the terrified date has happened to her too. He was so scared. And saying, thank you. It's good to hear you say this. Julia says, I've been told I don't look like a psychic, so how could I be? Anne says, yes, fear does come along for the ride. Oh, the fear antivirus system. I like the analogy. If I was using a computer, I would just click the antivirus fear button to get rid of it. Oh yeah, so let's do that. Let's click that antivirus button.
I love it. Yeah. Let's do it.
My God, 2 minutes that took. So in the next few seconds, I'm going to give you 10 seconds, Inga. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty good with strangers, accepting strangers in my friends, or it's either high impact happiness or magical creators life. So this is where I live, both on Instagram and Facebook.
Lovely. And you're in the group too as well. So if
Yeah,
anybody tags you in a post, in a comment here, you'll get back to them and direct
absolutely.
them. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.